Welcome, everyone. Last time we left off, and we're going to pick up today at 171 6.3. We had the story of Zacchaeus and how Christ had stopped and singled him out in order to bring salvation to his house because he had obviously wanted to commit to the kingdom of God, but hadn't quite made that decision. But once he was noticed by Christ, that decision was made, and he declared boldly that he would give of his goods to the poor, and that he would live in righteousness and truth. Let's continue on.
When Zacchaeus had ceased speaking, Jesus said, "Today has salvation come to this home, and you have become indeed a son of Abraham." And turning to the crowd assembled about them, Jesus said, "And marvel not at what I say, nor take offense at what we do. For I have all along declared that the Son of Man has come to seek and to save that which is lost." They lodged with Zacchaeus.
So even then, Christ held out some small olive branch to those who would take offense at his staying in the home of the tax collector by saying that, I've come to save that which is lost. Then they could understand, oh, okay, he goes there to save that man who is truly lost because he's a tax collector, so yeah, he needs salvation more than us. So, anyway, let's move on.
For the night. On the morrow they arose and made their way up the road of robbers to Bethany on their way to the Passover at Jerusalem. 7. As Jesus passed by. Jesus spread good cheer everywhere he went. He was full of grace and truth. His associates never ceased to wonder at the gracious words that proceeded out of his mouth. You can cultivate gracefulness, but graciousness is the aroma of friendliness which emanates from a love-saturated soul.
That is a powerful statement. I've long pondered upon that and reread it many, many times. You can cultivate gracefulness, but graciousness is the aroma of friendliness which emanates from a love-saturated soul. I mean, I'm not that kind of person. I'm not a love-saturated soul. But I can see that. If you truly love your fellow man, if you truly love good and right and true things, then it's not just gracefulness that you give, but it's graciousness. And it just wafts off you like an aroma that others sense. It's very powerful. Let's move on.
Goodness always compels respect, but when it is devoid of grace, it often repels affection. Goodness is universally attractive only when it is gracious. Goodness is effective only when it is attractive.
Again, a very powerful and power-packed paragraph here. Goodness always compels respect. That's true. If someone senses goodness in you, they respect you. I've seen it happen. But when it's devoid of grace, meaning that you're capable of giving deference to act without any kind of, that's not right, kind of attitude. If it doesn't have grace, it repels that affection because they can't reach you because even though they may desire, because they respect you, because they see goodness in you, they can't reach you because there's no grace there. Grace is the means whereby they can connect to you and have a relationship, spiritual relationship with you. Goodness is always attractive, especially when it's gracious, because it's something that's desired, and you see that that person is reachable, attainable, able to be contacted, able to be in contact with. Just like our Father in heaven. I mean, He's so far above us that we are like defective amoeba to the most advanced person on this planet. There's no way we can compare to God. And yet, God is gracious and good and kind and loving. And we see that in everything that He does for us. Goodness is universally attractive, but only when it's gracious. Goodness is effective only when it is attractive. So, see how that works? Because you are approachable and reachable by others through grace, through your grace, you then are more effective in attracting others to goodness. It's a symbiotic relationship. Let's move on.
Jesus really understood men. Therefore could he manifest genuine sympathy and show sincere compassion. But he seldom indulged in pity. While his compassion was boundless, his sympathy was practical, personal, and constructive. Never did his familiarity with suffering breed indifference, and he was able to minister to distressed souls without increasing their self-pity. Jesus could help men so much because he loved them so sincerely. He truly loved each man, each woman, and each child. He could be such a true friend because of his remarkable insight. He knew so fully what was in the heart and in the mind of man. He was an interested and keen observer. He was an expert in the comprehension of human need, clever in detecting human longings.
Once again, a couple more packed paragraphs that take some, deciphering here to really understand it. So he was very sincere in his compassion and had genuine sympathy for the plight of all, but he didn't indulge in pity, and he didn't encourage others in his talking with them to increase their self-pity. Now that's a hard thing to do, I know, because so often you want to be compassionate to someone, but you don't know how compassionate, how understanding, how best to reach them or to show that compassion and not increase their self-pity. So we either go not enough or too far. It takes someone very skilled and knowledgeable like Christ, or someone who's been well trained and have experience in these things to really understand how best to thread that needle, because it is threading a needle. In the meantime, don't be afraid to act. I would have to say that it's better to err on the side of giving more compassion and understanding that might lead to increasing someone else's self pity than not. It's important to give more, not less. More. More understanding, more compassion, more deference to their needs, even if you don't understand it, than not. And of course, Jesus loved all, and that's what he's calling us to do, is to find a way to love all, every man, every woman, every child. And remember that it's this spiritual insight that we must cultivate, because it will guide us into saying the things we need to say and doing the things we need to do for someone that we may not normally understand. We won't perceive of it with our natural eyes, but our spiritual eyes can direct us to say and do things that can help somebody else that we would not normally have done or said, but because we're in tune, the Spirit can guide us. As it did with Zacchaeus, Christ could have just continued on, but he understood through the Spirit what it is he needed to do. And this is important coming up. Jesus was never in a hurry.
Jesus was never in a hurry. He had time to comfort his fellow men as he passed by, and he always made his friends feel at ease. He was a charming listener. He never engaged in the meddlesome probing of the souls of his associates. As he comforted hungry minds and ministered to thirsty souls, the recipients of his mercy did not so much feel that they were confessing to him as that they were conferring with him. They had unbounded confidence in him because they saw he had so much faith in them.
And that's important. Because of his faith in them, they felt that they were not confessing to him, but conferring with him. Now, that right there, brothers and sisters, is where you need to find yourself, where you need to be. Are people confessing to you when they talk to you, or are they conferring with you? If you feel like you're confessing to someone, or when you share something with them, it's a confession, or it's like a you try to justify what it is you're saying to them, then you're confessing to them. But if you're able to just speak to them, and you feel like opening up to them is a good thing, and it helps you, it's your confidence in them. You're conferring with them because you know that your confidence is respected by them. And that's the way the Lord was, and that's the way we can be. Never in a hurry. We need to remember that. It's so hard in this world to not be in a hurry. But we need to not be in a hurry. That doesn't mean we can't get from point A to point B and be on time, but not be in a hurry in our minds that we do not see around us the opportunities to say something good to someone, to lift a soul, to recognize a need, and to stop by the wayside and give that. Our job is to minister to all around us. And if we are in a hurry in our minds, in the sense that we got to get from point A to point B, and anything in between is a distraction that has to be avoided, we're going to miss out on tons of opportunities in our life to say a good word, to give a good deed, to go out of our way to do something when the Spirit directs us. And remember, when the Spirit directs us, it can be very subtle. But if we get used to doing as the Spirit directs immediately, the Lord can reach us and have us be his hands and feet more. Let's move on.
He never seemed to be curious about people, and he never manifested a desire to direct, manage, or follow them up. He inspired profound self-confidence and robust courage in all who enjoyed his association. When he smiled on a man, that mortal experienced increased capacity for solving his manifold problems.
So, we should be seeking for the Lord's smile upon us, because it is that smile upon us that gives us a manifold increased capacity for solving our own problems. The Lord smiles upon his children. We should be seeking for that smile. And when we go about doing good to others, we should be willing to bless others, that the Lord may smile upon them. We should even go so far as to say, may the Lord smile upon you today. Because in that blessing, we're asking the Lord to smile upon this person. And any smile from the Lord increases our capacity to do, to become what the Lord wants us to be.
Jesus loved men so much and so wisely that he never hesitated to be severe with them when the occasion demanded such discipline. He frequently set out to help a person by asking for help. In this way he elicited interest, appealed to the better things in human nature.
Okay, so the Lord so often, and we can do this too, ask help of someone, ask for advice from someone, ask something of someone in order to get their response and then know better where they're coming from in order to share with them something greater, something better. Because when you ask for someone's help, you're allowing them to express to you who they are in a manner of speaking. And when you can accept that and help add to that, it's so much more inviting and enticing than just sharing right out of the gate. Okay, let's go ahead and stop right there. Thank you, and take care of yourselves.